what should we expect from online classes, especially kami ng mga incoming pa lang, and how can we not be overwhelmed from the workload?
This is the season for you to actually focus on adjusting with the classes.
Welcome back to another episode. Last week, we were joined by Miss Salie Siao, and now she'll be joining us again. Thank you for joining us again this week, Miss Salie.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, this is so interesting.
So, how different is online classes from face-to-face classes?
Okay, so this one naman pala for the students, no? So, how is it different? From a perspective of a teacher, it's the same thing. It's actually the same thing. If I'm going to give students, like freshmen, tips, okay, on what to expect, number one that you would actually experience would be a difference in the environment. Okay, why? Because, of course, when you're in school, you're expected to conduct yourself like you're in a school. And it's really fun to be in a school, especially when you're in college. Kasi ang dami mong makikita, ang dami mong ma-experience na bago, especially if it's your first time in a university. And you see new friends, you meet new people. So I think that would be the environment that I'm talking about. Number two would be like yung pagpunta mo sa library, yung ganong environment pag-experience mo ng lab. So at this time, wala kang ma-experience na ganon. It's purely online. Second would be the peers, okay? In my class kasi, I handle seniors. Most of them, they don't know each other. Whenever we have group works, they just talk over the phone or siguro FB chat or something like that. And then they work in Google Drive. Although in person to person naman, ganun naman, they work in Google Drive and they just contribute to the content. You would see right now, they don't really know each other. So what we do as much as possible, for example, because I'm using Zoom, I do breakout rooms in a way. So I'm not so sure if they are actually enjoying it so that they would get to know their classmate. Yun yung difference. So peer support kasi is very big eh. Parang it makes you have like an identity na ganito itsura ng classmate ko or whatever. In terms of requirements, I'd say it's the same in a sense that there are still quizzes, there are still group works, there are still recitations, okay? My final paper, my final exam. So everything else is still there. The thing is, dati pag nagsosource ka, pag nagbe-brainstorm kayo ng group mates mo, mas madali, magkakaharap kayo. This time, you can only do that, or when you do consultations, you just look for your professors and then schedule a meeting with them. But right now, it's really online. So yun yung difference. It's really the feel of the online, but requirements would still be almost the same. And a lot of my friends are asking me, paano na nagpaparecite ngayon? So that's a very curious question. Okay, paano yung recitation? It depends on the teacher on what method they want. In some cases, like even in Zoom, meron pa ring recitation. I haven't tried though. For me kasi, we have a system in school where people could put in discussion boards. So I put in a discussion board. So I ask like, what did you learn in this topic? Or something like that, or what was the most important thing that you realized upon reading this topic, and they would be sharing things. And then for me, it's like, okay, ganun pala yung pagkaintindi nila ng topic. I get to see them individually this time, but all the rest will be the same.
What are the pros and cons naman of having online classes?
When I enrolled as a student, what I did kasi was like 2 subjects lang. I tried it for 1 month, 2 subjects for 1 month. And I was able to, like, not to be overwhelmed. And you know what? When I asked my students, how many subjects did you enroll this term? And they would say, 7 subjects. I was like, 7 subjects? Ang dami nun. So parang that's how many hours in a week. So that's one would be, the con would be, I'd say they might be overwhelmed already. Okay? Overwhelmed, I started with the con because I think it's the most obvious reason in an online class. For the pros, for me as a teacher, I think it's a good way for students to express themselves, okay? Hindi kasi siya parang pag may nag-raise ng hand na parang when I ask someone, for example, hi Jake, what's your opinion on this? And then he would say blah, blah, blah. And then in class, di ba, para lang matapos na I agree with Jake, blah, blah, blah. So wala nang ganon kasi everybody has to say something. And because of that, you're forced to think originally, individually. And in that sense, I get to also see if you understand the lesson. So I think that's a very big pro for me. Number 2 would be efficiency. That's really a pro for students as and teachers as well. So I have asked students, because my class is actually 7:30 a.m. And then they said they're so happy that it's online class because they're not forced to wake up, commute, and rush. Okay, so yun. So yun, ganon. So for the teachers as well, ganon din. Also, a good pro for me is that you can manage your time. So parang kung trip mo ngayon, Tuesday, ayaw mong mag-aral dahil na-overwhelm ka na, maybe you could schedule it in parang good in understanding. But the cons on that, of course, is as a discipline. What if you're the type of person na hindi ko feel hanggang sa natapos na yung term or natapos na yung sem, puro hindi mo feel yung gagawin. So it's really, in a way, very, parang so much discipline, self-discipline is expected from you as a student. For the cons, I'd say the focus, it's really difficult to focus, especially if your bed is just a few meters away from you or a few inches away from you. So it's really difficult to focus, especially if, for example, someone is doing a lecture and you're holding your phone and no one will really mind you if you're really listening attentively. No one sees you. Second is the environment. I'd say it's difficult because your household would also need you as a family member. So there would be expectations, and how can you concentrate with that? And of course, the external environment, like there are dogs barking outside, your internet is not doing good, your laptop is not working properly, you have to share gadgets, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things. Finally, the fatigue. Okay, the fatigue that, well, it has something to do with the first one that I told you, overwhelm. Okay, the fatigue of like being focused online so much and not seeing anybody. I think that's very difficult, and I think that's adding to the difficulty of what we're experiencing right now. So maybe it's not really the online learning, it's the fact that we don't see anybody aside from our family members. And aside from that, yung parang feeling mo nakababad ka sa Zoom or nakatingin ka sa screen, that really has an impact. And I think more than online learning, it's really the total experience that we're having this lockdown. So I think that's the pros and cons.
Are there still like absence or lates in online classes?
It depends really with the school policies. With LaSalle, wala. We took out the lates, we took out the absences. We have this style, synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous is when it's like this. We're sabay, okay? Asynchronous and is your own pacing. So it's really a mix, because why do we promote asynchronous? Number one, because our internet is not really good here in the Philippines. Number two is because it's self-paced, so it's really more parang giving more responsibility to the student. And because of that, yung pag nag-online class, meron also sa Zoom makaka-capture siya kung sino yung nag-attend, pero hindi naman namin malalaman kung sino yung sino yung late pumasok. Kasi we're in the middle of lecture already. Tapos number two, when we do synchronous, we upload after. So just in case nagbe-break yung internet mo, okay lang. Kasi naiintindihan naman namin. So it's also in our side, parang full of compassion also on our side. We upload our lectures. So as long as you meet the requirements, that's there. Okay na yon.
So what should we expect from online classes, especially kami ng mga incoming pa lang, and how can we not be overwhelmed from the workload of online classes?
What to expect for Frosh? Kasi sa Frosh, ang gusto ko i-share, and for me kasi syempre naging Frosh din ako several years ago, ang important kasi sa akin yung school culture. Kasi first time kong pumasok sa school, di ba? Yung pagturo ng hymn, yung pagturo ng yung parts ng buildings ng school, paano hindi ka maliligaw. But it's different kasi when you meet your classmates. So I think that's the difficulty. So student life kasi is something that's being, for schools has to be creatively parang designed. Naalala ko rin ng freshman ko, so nung first few days ko, there was a recruitment of organizations, okay? And they recruit people to join organizations, and then that's the chance for you to actually go out, meet new people aside from your what you call your blockmate. For me kasi that was really exciting and interesting. Hindi ko siya alam kung paano siya i-execute this term. So yun lang yung difference. So I think the student's life, which is very important in university, would be very much affected. So I would say that for freshmen, siguro baka this is the season for you to actually focus on adjusting with the classes, focus on understanding the lessons. Ibang-iba yung college sa high school. One side story, we had this class, history class, and then we call it the JP Rizal class. Okay, kaya sabi ko, kayang-kaya ko yan. Kasi sa Lasal, 3 months ang isang term. Okay, so sabi ko, sa school kasi namin yung high school, yung mga ibong Adarna, El Filibusterismo, isang quarter namin tinik yan. So parang ganun lang yan, easy. Okay, so sa amin kasi nung high school, El Fili yung first quarter. Tas the next quarters, it's just your regular Filipino subjects. Like, easy. Okay. I didn't know that in college, El Fili pala is just 1 week. Okay, so I had to cram reading Elfili in the whole Elfili in one weekend. Okay, and then the Noli first, diba? Noli in one weekend, the next weekend Elfili. And it's really just part of one whole lesson. So imagine 2 books nangyayari yon sa college. Okay, what did I learn from that? So maybe it's a season for you to really adjust to that. Okay, because it's not everybody's really into that. And I had a difficulty personally adjusting to a tri-sem when I was in college. So I think that that's the season for you guys. So you just take advantage of that. Siguro learn how to adjust to the system or the practice how college is being parang learned. Okay, parang ganun siguro yung masasabi ko. Advice. Okay, advice for students in general. So number 1 would be to manage your time wisely. Tinatamad ako. Hindi, doesn't work that way. Have to create small habits. Okay, and I learned that from Atomic Habit just a few weeks ago. That's a book by James Clear. And he said that you have to create small habits that you have to continuously repeat, okay? And until you actually learn that, and it will have a big impact eventually. What I do as a teacher or as a student, I would say, is to create a weekly plan. So I have a weekly calendar, and then I put in all what's required from me every week. I fill it out Monday morning or Sunday night. Okay, I do that. And what I do when I'm learning or I'm working is that I only spend 5 hours to 6 hours maximum. Okay? Why? Because I don't want to be overwhelmed. Technology can be overwhelming. Tech stress can be overwhelming. So, to avoid that, ayun yung ginagawa ko. So, I manage my time properly. I have already, as I've said, parang estimated it to 5 hours a day and beyond that. And what I do, I would have mini breaks in between. So, every hour, I'd walk around, okay, or do something else for just 5 minutes just to break the habit. Next would be don't cram. Students love to cram. Even employees love to cram. But okay, the thing is we're all adjusting to online learning. So even sometimes, even if the design of the teacher is not to overwhelm you, sometimes nagiging mabigat siya because of the bigla siyang sabay-sabay. So it's really about time management and not cramming it. So it's really about proper planning. Next is to create a routine. Okay, so creating a routine can be, in a way, can make your life more predictable. So in that sense, mas madali siya. For me, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I do what I can and start the day at 9 o'clock. And then I have a break, so on and so forth. So because of that, I have created a rhythm and I reserve the weekends for rest. And the tendency is when we were starting with the online class, na-overwhelm rin kami with all the things that we need to do. So it's really a matter of self-discipline. The next one would be to create a space. Okay, mahirap to gawin in some houses. But when I say create a space, what I'm saying is that parang library siya. Parang pag nandun ka, ready kang mag-isip. Ganon, okay? So as much as possible, don't study on your bed. Okay, wag kang nakahiga masyado. Okay, at least your mind is in a study mode. Kaya nga in some schools, they require students to wear uniform para nasa school mode rin sila. You're altering, or not really altering, but you're sending your brain a message that, hey, we are working right now, we are studying right now, we need to do this. Okay, that's why we are in this space. Okay, so whether it's on the top of a closet, I do that. Okay, pag napapagod na ako nakaupo, so I'm sitting right now, I have a tall cabinet. I put my laptop there and that's where I work. So dalawa yung place kung saan ako nag-work. The next one would be to honor the break time. Okay? Honor the break time and alone time. And when you say during the break time and alone time, you don't think about anything else that's related to school or to work. Why? Because you need to clear your head. Even when the fact that you're worrying about requirements, you're already thinking. So kung ganun rin lang, edi magtrabaho ka na. So if not, if you're working or if you're taking a break, do something different, like color a book, paint, cook, whatever you need to do just to take your mind off your work. So honor your break time and commit to that break time. And when I say commit to that break time, I don't say na parang okay lang, etong Sunday mag-aaral ako kasi marami akong requirements. Next Sunday, hindi na talaga. The thing is, when you do that, it's going to be just an excuse and every week, every Sunday ka magtatrabaho. So again, it's about really balancing. I know some students, yung mga sinabi kong nauna, it's a bit like, okay lang kasi in learning kasi, in school kasi hindi masyadong iniisip kasi gusto mo siya namang ginagawa. But this time kasi with online learning, that's an additional additional stressor eh. Yung technology na naka-expose ka sa screen, nakikinig ka or nagsasalita ka or nag-iisip ka, that's all added. Next, have sanity checks with your friends. Okay, so always have group of friends to keep you sane. Okay, and ask them. Okay, so ask them and may kamusta, rant if you want. Okay, but move on fast. Okay, so ibig sabihin nun, your friends are there to actually help you discover, because especially you guys, you're fresh eh, di ba? Tapos iba't iba pang school. So, kamusta na ba dyan? Or ano ba yung nangyayari dyan? Or whatever. So, you need that. You need your high school friends. You need your college friends. Okay, to have that sanity check. And it's really helpful when you always have a gratitude mindset. So I'd like to end with that tip. Kasi pag inisip mo, we're all experiencing the difficulty right now of adjusting to online learning, not because of online learning per se, but because we're in a pandemic. Okay, when you think about it. And it's easy to whine. It's easy to complain. It's easy to make excuse that life is difficult. But when we say that we are going to embrace this, it sucks, but we're going to embrace this, then we're here together, okay? As students, as teachers. You chose to enroll this term. You could have postponed it next year if you would want to. But since you chose to enroll, then be an adult, especially because you guys are in college, be an adult and work on it. Okay, don't complain so much. Parang ganon. And with the gratitude mindset, you will be more, parang, alam mo yon, thankful ka with the little things. Thankful ka nagawa mo yung things to do mo. Thankful ka kasi sa new learning mo. Thankful ka kasi na-accomplish mo yung to-do list mo. Yung, if you look at that way, okay, about learning itself, it's like taking it one day at a time. Okay, and it's very important right now. So yun yung tips ko.
So there we go. So that's the end of this week's episode. Thank you, Miss Salie, for joining us. And I'm sure that the viewers out there, especially the college students and the incoming frosh, have learned a lot. Thank you for joining us this week.